Book Club. Today we are discussing Tony Robbins' new book, Unshakeable. It's a follow-up to 2016 book that came out, Mastering the Game of Money or Mastering Money or something, which was a monster book, 626 pages. This book is much more reasonably sized, and we're discussing it today. So I'm Tamara Weber. I'm here in Arizona, and this is Bianca Mendez.
San Diego.
And
Teresa Fox, Kansas City. Woo, woo.
Woo, woo. And unfortunately, Ellen isn't here today. She was here last week, and she gave us a very, very nice synopsis of the book, but we didn't record it, so I feel really sorry, Ellen. Maybe I'll chime in some of your input that you gave last week. So anyway, who wants to start?
I can if you want me to.
I do.
Or Bianca, are you ready?
No, you go ahead.
Okay, let me pull up my notes here. Well, one of the things that I've been struggling with, the purpose of business is to create happiness, not pile up money. And the execution trumps knowledge every day of the week. So it's just getting in there and doing the grind day after day. And it's hard to do the grind when talking about creating the happiness. There has to be a purpose behind what you're doing. And I know Tony Robbins, especially at the end of this book, he talks about there has to be that passion, because the passion creates energy and it creates the drive to do the grind day after day. And so, you know, I go back to I have friends that tell me, look at your vision board and draw that emotion from your vision board. But that is something that, you know, that I'm working on. I'm working on that. I love this. The person with the experience ends up with the money. The person with the money ends up without the money, but with the experience.
I thought that was pretty good.
And I talked about this last week. He talks about, what's interesting is I just had to read the Dave Ramsey book last week, the same time we were reading this. And Dave Ramsey says mutual funds, mutual funds, mutual funds, where Tony Robbins' book says no mutual funds. Index funds are the way to go. And he actually says index funds doubles your money every 7 years. And that mutual funds have way too many fees, and you're basically paying someone else to do your job of watching your own money. And I do want to look in Kansas City for someone that, you know, he recommends the 3 different people that invest your money for you. And the one that he, from what I understand, recommends is the fiduciary that is not acting as a broker or a dual agent. I don't know if you guys have one like that in place. I do not. And so I definitely am searching. And I know that Ellen, we did talk about this. She feels like this was kind of a push for him to push his company, which is Creative. What was the name of the company?
Creative.
What is it? I couldn't hear.
Oh, but that was, I thought it was Creative. I thought it was Creative Solutions or something like that.
I have it in my notes somewhere. Oh, Creative Planning. His company's Creative Planning. But I really feel like Tony Robbins' heart is in a good place. I mean, he actually is out there to help people grow and better themselves. So I don't feel like him pushing this company through his book. It's his book. And I didn't get that sense. I didn't get the sense that that's what he was doing, the whole purpose of this book. I feel like he needed to rewrite the other book. The other book was painful. I think it was 28 hours, a 28-hour book. That's how long it took me to get through it. Where this one, which is insane, is a short version, and it's still almost an 8-hour book, the short version. But yeah. I think he comes from a good place in his heart, and I feel like the advice he gives is true into helping people. I didn't feel like he was just promoting himself or his businesses. And then of course my favorite part of the book is when he actually talks about the emotions behind investing. Don't get comfortable and start investing in one thing just because it turns into a habit of, oh, this is, and he said it's actually a psychological trigger is when you've made money on one deal, your brain automatically tells you, your subconscious, oh, we need to stick with this because it's safe. It switches into that mode. And I found that really interesting. It talks again, don't fall in love with investments and listen to advice. Another thing that he said that I found interesting was don't listen to the people on TV. Do not go on TV and watch stock reports because those shows are made to trigger us to create action and to invest in things that maybe aren't necessarily a good investment. And I had never heard that before, but I think it makes total sense. I mean, hello, the media is always pushing us towards something. So I agree with that statement, and I could see that being true. Also, the negativity and memories of loss. He talks about there's always going to be a winter, but winter is always followed by spring. And honestly, I never understood why people sell. I have never understood this. Why do people sell their stocks when it drops all the way down? Like, why would you do that? Why would you not just wait to see when it's coming back up? Because they all usually come back up. I mean, very rarely do you lose all of your money in something. If you just hold out and wait. In fact, instead of selling out, they should be buying more stock if it's something that should be bouncing back. And then, of course, wherever your focus goes, your energy goes. Focus is power. Take massive action. Model people that have already been successful. The art of fulfillment is the most important. And he talks about progress is the key to happiness. And I have felt that this year. I have grown a lot as a person just by all the books that we've been reading. And I have definitely felt a sense of fulfillment and happiness just from the growth in the last year. So I definitely believe in that. And money only magnifies who a person really is. If you're mean when you're poor, then you're really mean when you're rich. All it does is magnifies that person. Money isn't a magic pill for happiness. And he talks about people that they have a lot of money and they're not happy. So he says it really starts with inside of you. And he talks about Robin Williams, and Robin Williams had quoted or said, if you're not fulfilled, you have nothing, no matter what you achieve or how much money you have. And so obviously we all know the ending to, or how the turnout of that. So a man is a product of his thoughts, what he thinks he becomes, Gandhi. And then probably my ultimate favorite thing from this book, and we talked about this with the video, is he made a decision to live in a beautiful state. That there's two states. There's a suffering state and a beautiful state, and it's a decision. And the fact that we have a choice, that when we get pulled out of it, and he's telling me that we could go back to that in 2 minutes time, and he gives us the tool to do that, that was huge for me. Because why would I not want to live in a beautiful state? Why would I? And he talks about the reason for people that live in the suffering state. They feel like they're supposed to or they need to. So yeah, I after reading that, I made a conscious decision that this is the state that I want to strive to live in, and I want to continue to learn how to do so and continue to practice it and to continue to create habits to be in that place. So that's it. That's all. I don't know how much time I've been taking.
That's perfect. It was perfect. But no, piggybacking on that, that was my absolute favorite part of the book as well. And I like the way he says that, you know, it's not that, yeah, even though once you've made that decision to live in the beautiful state, which is joy, happiness, gratitude, excitement, enthusiasm, versus the suffering state, which is going to be, you know, sadness, depression, self-pity, anger, frustration, anxiety, aggravation. It's not that you never have those. It's just that if you the goal is to stop it sooner and get back into the beautiful state. And that the key way to do that is through gratitude. And actually, I've listened to that last chapter, which talks about this a couple times, and I've watched the video a couple times, which, by the way, for those watching now, it's Oprah Winfrey's Super Soul Sessions with Tony Robbins, Living an Extraordinary Life or something like that. And what he talks about, which makes so much sense, is that, yeah, maybe I want, a bigger house, or I want a bigger bank account, or I want, although I'm striving for all of those things, at any moment, I'm wealthier right now than 99% of the population on this planet. I mean, the fact that I have a bed to sleep in, water to drink, electricity, so just acknowledging that and having the gratitude for that can get me back to that beautiful state. And he actually gives a specific exercise for doing that, which I also remember hearing in the book. If you go to Unshakeable.com, somewhere in there you can get a link to that exercise, or that what does he call it? Like might even call it a meditation. I'm not sure, and I've also heard him refer to it as priming. It's a way to prime himself back into that beautiful state.
We could always use Teresa's trick.
Yeah. Tap it in.
Tap it in. Tap it in.
Tap it in. Tap it in.
That's awesome. Hey, do you guys remember the part where he talks how we're trained and how we train our brains, and how he says that he was talking a part about from where we are to where we want to be, and that the reason sometimes that we don't know how to get to where we want to be is because of how we're training ourselves, and that we've learned our entire life to learn in a passive state. Do you remember him saying that?
Yeah.
And that the reason why that we do not take action is because we're used to sitting in front of a teacher or somebody and then the lecture coming in. But if you include the action into the learning, that it can embed deeper into your person, into your being, right? And so as I was thinking about that, I said, okay, specifically, how can I create the action into my learning of what I want to do, where I need to grow, where the skills that I need to improve on, how can I incorporate that action? I mean, did you guys think about that at all?
Oh yeah, definitely. In fact, I had that conversation with my coach, and we talked about going back to the basics of my calendar and writing out everything that I want to work on and what I need to do, and putting it on my calendar and making time for it. And then following that calendar. And the goal is for 1 week. 1 week to follow my calendar.
Oh, if I could do it for 3 hours, that would be great. Well, the crazy thing is, like, it's always, like, I'm always adding to my calendar. Like, just today Friday, I added writing an objection handler once a day. Okay, so where do I put that? That's going to take 10 minutes a day. I added calling my leads at 10 a.m., 1 o'clock, and 5 o'clock, for 15 or 20 minutes. I added writing a thank you card at 5 o'clock. So it's like I'm constantly adding these little 10-minute tasks, which are absolutely going to get me where I want to go. But, I guess you have time.
Obviously, I'm struggling with that too. So I have no words of advice there, because it's a process.
I'm not saying that by any means I am even near what it needs to be. But I think that sometimes it has to be in us to a point where we really want to do something. We have to have a choice inside of us. Like today, I was like feeling I can go lackadaisical through this and then leave my girls by themselves, or I can have a goal and hit my goal, be done with it, and move on, right? And it was a choice. We made it together and we supported each other on it, right? And so where do we get to a point where the other stuff becomes so ingrained that we can add this new task, you know, and be committed to it instead of being overwhelmed by all of them, I guess, right?
I think
I think that's what he's talking about, though. He's talking about that passion. It has to come from the passion. And if you don't have any passion to create the emotion, and it's not going to create action. Emotion creates action. And so that's what, think about it. If you, I mean, and he talks about this, I've heard him talk about in other books about how when you're excited about something, it is super easy to wake up and get going. Like you cannot wait to get dressed and get out of the house. And so how do you create that energy towards this grind? And it is a grind. It's a grind every day. So how do you do it day after day? And I know Tony Robbins, he believes that we control that. It's like a muscle and we keep doing it and we get better and better at it. So, do you guys have any advice for creating that action or passion? I mean, what excites you, gets you going to where there's like a meaning behind what we do?
Well, one of the things that I've heard Tony Robbins say in a lot of his videos and audios and whatnot is that actually action can create that feeling, like moving your body, moving your face, moving your voice in certain ways. You can simulate that. But that's not really answering your question. I think answering your question is more, you know, taking the time to really think about why we're doing this, you know, because we want to inspire others, or because we want to fully utilize the gifts that we've been given, or that we, you know, want to support our family and make sure that they have the opportunity to go to college. And, you know, those big why things are what, if we tap into that, those are going to pull us as opposed to having to push ourselves, right?
Well, you know, now that you say that, so I went to the Tony Robbins thing in Chicago, and he did say action creates emotion. And I haven't been working out again. So
well, I can imagine why after your 56-mile hike over 3 days, right?
I only made it 23, but I think that does drive my whole day. When I get up and work out, and we've had this conversation, the three of us, when I get up and work out, I have emotional energy all day long. So I need to get back to the gym. I need to get back to the gym, because you're right, action creates emotion. And when I get up and work out, I feel good, and it creates that emotion of I'm conquering. And so it's easy to keep going with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've been waking up and going to the gym, and even then I want to go back to something about not being attached or getting used to the investment, you know, like the investment. It has the same thing to do with not going through the motions. For me, it's like, don't just go to the gym and go through the motions and just lift the weight that you can. You need to run harder. You need to change it up. Right now, I was telling Tamara, I need to change it up because I'm going there. I'm getting there. But I'm on a flat line. Yeah. Yeah.
Versatility.
Did I spell it right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, I think that's true for everything in life. What he was talking about, not just getting used to something, you know, one is, okay, picking up and actually doing it. And then two, constantly having to self-stimulate yourself, you know, to keep going, because it's definitely challenging. And he says that this morning, Mike talked about that when you go through slumps, that it's normal for a driven person, an intense thinking big person, to hit a crash or a slump. But he says it's like, what are you going to do about it? You know, it's normal because you have so much emotional energy or energy going towards that when you do it, or you have a really big month, or like in your case, you had a big hike, whether it was 56 or 24, it was still a lot of miles. It was a big emotional, like, up to, right? That when are you going to decide to get over it, and when are you going to get back on, right? Mm-hmm. And then that's it. So when am I going to decide to change up the workout and take the action to do it, right? And just looking at that. So, and also I think that with regards to going back to the media part, it's just like real estate. You know, the media is going to talk about the market 3 months after the fact. It's the same thing with the stocks and the bonds. You know, we know as real estate agents that they're not telling you of what the reality is. You know, they're behind, you know, or prophesying way far ahead. They're not in reality. So where's our reality with that?
Good point.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's Mike Ferry's whole purpose of the versatility is what you just talked about. Seriously.
Yeah.
That's his whole reason for instilling into us why it's so important. And that's the exact reason. It's to keep the emotion in what we're doing. It's to get us excited again. Don't get comfortable. He talks about that all the time. Get out of your comfort zone. Everything that I've read personally talks about the successful people all learn how to step out of comfort constantly every day. And that's what drives them to success. And the people that are afraid to do that stay in their little tiny box. So we need versatility. Shake it up.
Yeah. Growth only happens when you step outside your comfort zone. We hear that over and over again in a lot of the books that we're reading. I wanted to go back to another thing one of you said, I can't remember, about this concept I remember reading about in another book earlier this year is there was a study done, and what they found is that a lot of joy and happiness comes from, like, there's basically this gap. There's the gap of where we are and where we want to be. And then there's a gap of where we are and the progress we've made. And the more we put our attention on the progress we've made, the more satisfied, you know, and happy and proud. And it really contributes to our happy. So I just thought that was I forgot about it. When you mentioned it, it reminded me that, yeah, sometimes it can, you know, not be.
Well, honestly, when I'm doing those hikes, the last 6 miles, let's just say I cried and threw a complete tantrum right before because I knew what was coming this time. I've done it before. I seriously had a complete and total meltdown. You can ask my friend Audrey. But my point was, the only thing that ever gets me through that section of the hike, because it is straight up. I think you climbed the Empire State Building 3.5 times in that hike, in that short amount of time.
Yeah,
so, and you've already gone 18 miles at that point. So you've got blisters all over, and then that's when the big part of the hike comes. The only thing that ever gets me through it and it energizes me is to turn around. One of the girls taught me that. She said, turn around and look where you just came from.
Wow.
Because you get so focused on what you have to do that it's overwhelming. I mean, I was so overwhelmed, I started crying. And it's just, and she kept saying, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. Turn around and look where you just came from. And when I turn around and see, it's like, okay, I can do this. I can pull it together.
That's awesome, Teresa. I like that.
But it's a lot. It's a total psychological, and that's why I do those hikes. Honestly, it's a total personal challenge with your brain, your mental state of mind, your mindset. That is what that whole thing comes down to, and that's what all this is, really. So I guess I say that to you girls today. Turn around and look where you came from. I mean, where have you grown this year?
I have that challenge in my mind just in my morning workout.
See?
Yeah, that's huge, Tamara. Congratulations.
Yes.
So I have to go, but
too.
before we wrap up, I just wanted to say also, I saw this amazing movie over the weekend. It's called Stronger, and it's not like a major motion picture. It's one of those more independent type films, but oh my gosh, it was really good and very, very inspirational. And bring tissue. It's a huge tearjerker. Oh, huge tearjerker, but yeah, really, really good. It's about this guy and he lost his legs in the Boston Marathon bombing, whatever year that was, I think 2013, something like that. And like his journey back to life and living, and how he found joy in being an inspiration to other people.
Is it at the theater, or is it on Netflix, or where'd you watch it at?
Yeah, it's at the theater right now, so okay. I don't know how soon it'll be out on Netflix. It was really good, really good.
Okay.
Okay, so next week we decided we're going to read the Ralph Lauren book, right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Ralph Lauren by Ralph Lauren.
Cool.
And we'll build up to talking Ellen into Trump's book.
We're just going to go down the list.
We're going to go down the list.
Next is Steering Clear by Peter Peterson, The Virgin Way. I mean, I say we just go down the list, man.
Go down the list, man.
Man.
It might be kind of interesting to read Dave Ramsey's book too, to compare and contrast his book with this one.
Yeah, I just read it and I won't be reading it again, but sure.
No, you won't. You didn't get that much out of it, or?
You know what? Here's my opinion of Dave Ramsey. I think that he has a lot of good points, and he did change my life when I was beginning the process of doing money. And I still go back to his cash system when I need to control my spending. My issue with Dave Ramsey is I'm a real estate agent, and I listened to his advice word for word. So what I did was I closed all of my credit cards, like he suggests, closed them all out. I had credit cards that I'd had for over 15 years. So when I did that, I ruined my credit because I got rid of all of it. So I think that's horrible advice that he gives to younger people, because they follow the system word for word, just like I did. And not everyone, you know, in their 20s is working to be a millionaire. Let's be real here. He's really helping people just pay off their debt and learn how to do that, learn how to handle money. So don't tell them to close their, you know what, if they have a problem not using the credit card, freeze. I've had a friend tell me, freeze it in the ice, put it in your freezer. You can't get to it then, but you still have the card, and then you still have the credit.
Or you can shred it. You can shred it. You don't even have to have it in your possession.
Well, if you go through the credit, like we work with the Credit Law Center here all the time, helping clients get approved. If you really want the highest credit score, you're supposed to keep your credit cards at 10% at all times. That's the A+ rating, is when you keep it at 10%. So anyway, that's my rant about Dave Ramsey. I just had to read that book last week. I've done his class. Freedom, whatever it's called. I went through the church, did the whole class, followed it to the T, paid off all of our cars, paid off our mortgage. We did everything. So that's my 2 cents about Dave Ramsey.
No, I agree. I haven't read his book, but I'm actually taking the class right now. I just finished week 3. And yeah, I think you're right. I don't agree with that either. You know, canceling the credit cards. When they said that, I was like, no. Not going to do that.
No, you don't. It's horrible advice, and I wish he would stop. I would love to have a confrontation with him. Dave Ramsey, if you're listening, you need to call me because we need to talk about this.
Maybe we should make a YouTube video. Our problem with Dave Ramsey.
That's right. It's horrible advice, and you're ruining young people's credit when they're trying to get finance for a home. Take it from a real estate agent.
Well, and I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, buying a home, I think, is one of the best financial investments you could ever make. I mean, if you just, I would love to make.
I'm just saying that because we're real estate agents.
I'm not. I mean, I would love to make a YouTube video. Maybe we should do that about the difference between George, who buys a house at age 25, and Charlie, who doesn't. And 30 years later, you know, George has this asset worth $600,000. He's actually paying less because Charlie, you know.
Girls, I gotta go. I gotta go, girls.
Okay. All right, see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.